Welcome to episode 14 of Youth Empowerment Radio. My name is Audrey, and today we are interviewing Brendan, who runs the Youth and Recovery meetings here where I serve at Oak Tree Youth Resources.
The material and information presented here is provided by lived experience youth and is for general information purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are of those of the guest only and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Youth Move.
Hello, Brendan. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Brendan. I am the YPR Young People in Recovery Durango chapter lead and program coordinator. I also serve the youth over at Oak Tree. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us and being on our podcast. I really appreciate it. What age range of youth do you serve at Oak Tree?
So we serve ages 14 to 21.
Awesome. So for the first question I have written down is, what are 4 to 5 key takeaways that homeless youth can use immediately to find sobriety?
I feel like going into recovery groups just to find community and other ways to cope. I also feel like the youth can utilize the Manna Soup Kitchen for places to go and for food. Also, there is the warming center that we have now that's open. Yes, and so that's 15 degrees and below, and so like that's actually open tonight. Yes, on the 22nd, so it's open tonight. And unfortunately, I can't really think of any more takeaways.
No worries. Yeah, that's fine. Those were some good takeaways, actually, bringing up the shelter that recently started as well. Carrie did send me a newsletter, or basically referring to like an article about it. So I'm really glad that we did start a new warming shelter for you to go in and to, be there, but also be safe. So I do like those key takeaways that you pointed out. They're really great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Of course. The second question I have written down is, how do you feel about the success stories from recovery, and how does the success develop in your recovery groups?
Success develops from being open and vulnerable in the recovery groups. I feel like there's like a lot of active listening that needs to take place when it comes to the success of recovery groups, and just trust. I know that with my own recovery, when I first started, just being open and being like receptive to like what's being said, getting into groups or getting into group activities, all the pro socials that they provide. Like, so I remember when I first came to Ignacio, because I'm originally from Denver. And when I first came to Ignacio, I didn't really know anybody. And my aunt told me, like, you need to get into a recovery group. And I wanted to, because like, so I'm originally a drag performer, and I wasn't able to do my drag because drag like it was centered in alcohol, and I needed to take a break from that. And so I joined the recovery groups. Getting into the pro socials was one of the best things ever, because I went on a river trip and paddleboarded like 20 miles down the river. I've never done that before. I just feel like the groups just push you to do things that you've never done before in a positive way. Like, they helped me to produce my first sober drag show. I actually went on the radio for that as well. There was a lot that went into that drag show that I had never done before. Like, I'd never done anyone else's makeup before. I have never done like a huge production like that before. I never sold tickets. We got like 80 people to go to that show. And so I'd say that's like the biggest benefit of going to the recovery groups, is just having your stories heard and building a support network where people understand you and can give you advice of the things that they've been through.
Wow, I really love that, especially coming from personal experience and you wanting to create a better environment, but also having young people in recovery explain their personal life experience and wanting to change for the better as well is really awesome. Especially also being in a safe environment of knowing they won't be judged and they'll be heard. So I really love that. I really love how you changed your life and your perspective and everything. So good job.
Thank you.
Of course. Question 3. What do you think is important for people to understand about the word relapse? What does it mean? How do you recognize it when it's happening?
So the word relapse, the most important thing that I want people to know about relapse is that just because you have relapsed, if you do end up relapsing, doesn't mean that you haven't lost everything that you learned before. So let's say like you've been in recovery for 2.5 years and you end up relapsing. It's, you may be starting from like day one of like your sobriety, but you haven't forgotten everything that you've learned up to that point. You still have the tools to progress in like a life of sobriety. And I feel like the things to start recognizing that could lead up to relapse is like not practicing your daily small gratitudes. Like I woke up today, like I have my like I'm in a warm, cozy house, like I have a job. Did you eat today? Did your friends call you today? Things like that. I have my cell phone, I have my TV, I have my computer. And those are a lot of things that like people take for granted. And I feel like because let's say you relapse and you end up not being able to go to work because you relapsed and your job, they tell you like you're not necessarily like fired, but like you just can't come into work today because you're inebriated and so you can't come into work today. You know what I mean? And they tell you, oh, you have to wait like 3 weeks before you can go back to work. You know what I mean? Then all of a sudden you're like out money for those weeks. And all of a sudden the job that you weren't appreciating, now you need it. You know what I mean? And just, but the most important thing is if you feel like you are about to lose control, that's like another reason why you want to get into a lot of these groups because like you end up making friends. Like I have all my friends are in the sober community now. And I can lean on any one of them if I feel like I were to like I'm about to go back out. And so just utilizing just call, sometimes the phone can be heavy, but just call like and anyone will stop and help. And so yeah, relapse can definitely be prevented.
Yeah, most definitely. I totally agree, like, with the little things, they always matter. Even friends and family always being there for you. Like, you may have your moment where you feel alone, and it's really hard to open up. So, people, they do run to their addictions, or if they're feeling some certain emotion, they do. So, yeah, like, I do agree, like, having friends and family be there for you, but also, like, your mentors and your support groups and everything, but it is really hard. But relapse is really a strong word. So I do like what you said. Alrighty. So for question 4, what I have written down is what do you gain after recovery?
What do you gain after recovery is you gain self-respect for yourself and you gain like rediscovery. You get to rediscover who you are. And I just know that a lot of doors open. So I mean, I've been challenged in my recovery to do things that I've never done before and be successful at it and have a successful team like behind me, like backing me up. And you just get like a sense of fulfillment. I know that like, so when I first was getting sober, I moved from Denver to Ignacio, like I said before. And I had my aunt who had struggled with the same addiction that I had. And so she knew that I just needed to get out of that environment entirely in Denver, just come to a new spot and just get outside on the property. We had a 3-acre property where I was chopping wood and I was being a little bit of an arborist. I was trimming trees and pulling cattails, stuff like that. And while I wasn't able to do my drag because drag was in the bar scene, I don't know if you've ever seen someone like have you ever seen a guy like in overalls and a wheelbarrow and a shovel, all of a sudden just like drop that shovel. He's in the middle of the field, just like dancing to Christina Aguilera and Missy Elliott and Beyonce and stuff like that. And just rediscovering like your happiness and that you don't have to be so locked away like in your emotions. I discovered a lot about myself. I discovered that I liked fitness. I ended up running 5 miles a day, and I started doing hit cardio workouts, high interval increment training. So you definitely like get to rediscover yourself. When you find recovery, you you find community, you find connection, because opposite of addiction is connection. And I feel like when you connect with people that understand what you're going through, you just build a strong community.
Wow, I really love that, especially getting away from an environment that wasn't good for yourself, but also creating a new one, even though it may have been something new, but also just stepping outside your boundaries and creating something so beautiful, but also changing the habits of making your life better. It's amazing. Like both of my parents, they were addicted to some stuff and they never saw the good aspects of life and what it could bring, so it's just like hearing other people's stories about them recovering and everything just brings happiness to my life. And it just proves that you can show others what you're made of, you know? You can you can turn it into something so much beautiful than what it was like in the past.
You could surprise yourself.
Exactly. Awesome. So question 5, what I have down is, what do you think is the impact of substance use and being unhoused?
The impact of substance use and being unhoused, I feel like that's that would be detrimental. I feel like if I were to be unhoused, that would be something very unfortunate. I feel like when we are in our active addictions, we are not really focused on like paying our bills and like going to school and stuff like that. And so it's unfortunate because when you're unhoused, you kind of are, some people find a community of like unhoused people, and a lot of those people aren't necessarily like in the right state of mind and can be still indulging in drugs. And it could be a harsh environment. And I feel like if you're unhoused, you might want to escape reality and continue to use. And so I urge people to use the resources that they can, like the Mana Soup Kitchen in the warming center, and just other local resources that we have. I'm not sure of some of the resources that we have for people that are unhoused at the moment, but I do know that it's unfortunate and that it would be harder to not use if you were unhoused.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. There is a few like youth here that are unhoused, and it's really sad to see them at such a young age feeling alone, but also running to substances to cope with it. But we also would like to share, we do have bookmarks that me and one of the workers here created. We have transportation, education, and jobs. We also have housing, food resources, and hotline numbers. We try to get the word out of they're not alone. They can feel free to reach out. We do have our work emails, but also Carrie's information. And we also share like the YPR group as well, our try it nights for our youth to come by and try like new activities that they would love to do. We turn it into something beautiful to let them know, like, feel free to come by if you need clothes, food, or just someone to talk to. Like, I know you may feel alone, but to let you know, like, you have people out there that care about you.
And that's good. And I'm glad that you guys do that, and that you guys have housing for them and clothes. And yes, the any time off of the street, being in the groups, like while I'm there doing the group, and they can come in for at least like a couple hours and be warm, like that makes all the difference.
Yeah, most definitely. And even having pizza there. Oh
Mhm.
man, they love pizza. Most definitely. So for question 6, what I have down is, what inspired you to start or to lead YPR?
What inspired me to start and lead YPR was to do something that I had never done before, do something that challenged me. And I'm a person who wants I strive for connection, and I just want to share my story with the world. And I get to do all these pro socials where we get to connect and like be a community. And we're gonna go ice skating this weekend, and that's gonna be fun. That's open to the youth as well. And it was another thing was, so I struggle. I just want to help bring people to their present moment. And so that's why I also became like the yoga teacher as well, because I want to help bring people to their present moment because I used to struggle with schizophrenia and I used to have like voices in my head, drug induced schizophrenia. And so that's why I decided to become a yoga teacher and start meditating and combat the voices that were in my head. You know what I mean? Not necessarily like paying attention to those voices, just letting them go through meditation. And so that's why I decided to become a yoga teacher. But with YPR, I feel the same way. I just want to connect with people. I want to bring people to their present moment. I want to be a solution in the community. And why not have a job that's centered in recovery?
Wow. First, I want to say thank you for being the new leader for YPR. You're doing such a great job. And you're very brave for doing all of, like, the best you can, but also, like, with all of the things that were going on, having the resources that you need to go to, but also, like, doing yoga, doing the YPR, having youth look up to you as a mentor, being like, "I can talk to Brandon about this. What's going on?" It's just you're just creating such a great leadership for yourself, but also, like, here at Oak Tree in our community as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Question 7 is, what challenges have you faced as a leader in this field and how have you overcome them?
So, what challenges I've faced so far would be just organization, just finding my own niche and being able to write down like when the meetings are and like learning how to marketing events and planning events 6 months in advance and the challenges around that because I want to be able to go to Glenwood, Alpine, Mountaintop theme park, you know what I mean? But then I also want to do the skating. Then I also want to go see the wolves in Ignacio and stuff like that. And so it's just all about like timing. It's all about like networking and like calling these people, calling like who needs to be involved with each different activity. Like who do I need to call? Like what's the budget gonna be for these events and stuff like that. And like how I've gotten through it is just like relying on my leadership team. Like I'm not alone. Like I've divvied up, like I have a pro social lead and I have a social media lead. And so just getting them together and getting us together and working on like a plan, like making out a list, like, okay, what do we want to do for the next 6 months? And can we afford that? No. Okay, scratch it off. Can we afford this? Like, yes. And just kind of like learning on the job. I feel like some of the hardest stuff is like some of like just the programs that, like the computer programs, like the broadcasting and stuff like that. But I'm getting through it and it's exciting having a semi-remote job and learning new things.
Wow. I totally agree with organizing like the meetings, but also like planning the events. But also, I really like the main idea of like how you said planning ahead of time because that saves you so much time, but also like for your personal life as well, wanting to do the stuff you love most. Me working as a Youth Move Colorado Vista as an AmeriCorps, it does get pretty busy. So I'm like, okay, going on my day. And then I see a 10 a.m. Zoom meeting and I'm like, oh, crap. How did I forget that? And I'm like, "Okay." And then at 12 o'clock, another meeting, and I'm like, "Oh my god." I really love how you're trying to stay organized. So I totally relate to, like, having things be, like, a rush of time and you're like, "Oh my god, how did this already happen?" You know? But that's
Mhm.
really good that you're really good at planning ahead of time. So it's something I can relate to you with. Awesome. So the next question I have is, what steps do you take to ensure the program stays efficient?
So I asked the youth yesterday, like in the group, like what fundraising activities they would want to do, like what pro socials they would want to do, because I'm trying to get more youth involved in the pro socials. And they said that they would be open to a talent show. Yeah, and there was one kid that wanted to play his guitar, and then there was another kid that wanted to show off his skateboarding skills. And so just trying to gear it towards them and like figure out like exactly like what they want to like continue to have them like be engaged. Like we're also gonna do a we're gonna tie dye hoodies and socks and stuff like that. And then with my adult YPR chapter, I have a sign up sheet where like they sign up to chair the meeting themselves. And so I feel like if people in the group are signing up and talking about what they want to talk about, like it's keeping it relevant to like what the needs are for the group, like week to week. So
Yeah. You know what? That is awesome. Like how you said, trying to do fundraising for the talent show for the youth, but also for your adult program, having the adults sign up and speak using their own personal voice that is like related to the group I'm gonna start running for the youth advisory board. Having our youth just use their voice and speak up for the community, but also me being their mentor and being like, okay, this is what I need to do. I love your ideas, like, just being there and letting them know, like, "I support you. If you need anything, rely on me," and that's what you're doing as well. But also, you can totally reach out to me because I can make a Canva about, like, your talent shows, the dates, if there's, like, anyone who wants to show up, how much it's gonna cost and where at. I can make a Canva and also send it to Ben and Kippy, who's kind of like the main top lead, and also one of our Youth Move Colorado lead vistas as well to spread out and also share it on our social media page if you would be interested in that to get more people involved. That's totally up to you. I'm just throwing that idea out if you would like
yeah,
it.
no, that would be great.
Yeah, awesome.
Mhm.
That's wonderful. So for the next question I have down is what do you find most rewarding about leading a recovery program?
What I find most rewarding about leading a recovery program is just the fact that I can actually do it. 2 years ago, I never would have thought that I'd be able to run the program. It's definitely, they say that you don't grow unless you're uncomfortable. And so, like, this job definitely has given me like some uncomfortability, and that's what I want. And I'm looking to grow. And yeah, that's like the most rewarding thing. Most rewarding thing, also seeing my pro socials actually like come to fruition, and just that's what it's all about. It's all about community and seeing their happy smiling faces, like when we're at the movies and when we're at the pancake and pajama party. We had a Christmas party, and just seeing how well that event went, and like that's like the most rewarding thing for me. Is just like community coming together.
I love that. I really do really am inspired by the quote you said, "You don't grow unless you're uncomfortable." It took me a while to get out my what is it called? My uncle used to call me an antisocial bug because I was so to myself. So, it does take a while for you to, like, step out your little comfort zone and wanting to be out, and also, like, realizing that once you do, it's, like, rewarding to yourself. It's like, "Oh my god, like, I never realized there's so many things out there in the world that I can do, that I'm capable of doing." And it's like a quote I heard, "We are all one." So it's just like, we're all humans, we're all one. You deserve to treat yourself out to the goals you push yourself to and what you can overcome and what you can do for yourself. So I really love what you said. Also, for the final question I have written down is what advice would you give someone looking to start or lead a familiar program?
I would definitely like go out into the community and see know what their basic need, like what the needs are of the recovery community, meaning like maybe doing street outreach and figuring out like what the homeless actually like need. Like, do they need bus tokens? Do they need food? Do they need clothes? Like, is there a warming shelter around? Is like finding out like what the community is like lacking. Like, is there a battered women's shelter? Is there not enough like sober living homes around? And like but I think the best advice to give is like, what do you want to see community, like, what do you want to see change like in your own recovery community? Like, what can you dig down deep and figure out and find like what, you know, what you see is lacking in your recovery community, and like advocate to fix that, advocate to change that.
Yeah, definitely. So I totally agree with going out into the community and getting the opinions of others of like what do you need the most, but also like what would help you in this moment in time. That's really great, but also along with street outreach, that's what I'm gonna be doing starting the springtime because during the wintertime, me and Carrie thought it would be snowing bad, so we could have started it earlier, but just for like safety precautions, we were gonna do spring. But also like me being over there and encountering youth, like letting them know, like, hey, is there anything I can help you with? Like, do you need any like clothes, food, housing? But also letting them know, like, if you ever need like someone to talk to, I'm there because a lot of our youth don't come into our drop-in center. Some of them just go to our public library. But I totally agree with the street outreach and getting the information of others as well. What would be great because that gives us a better idea of like, or that getting us a better idea, but also them themselves of what they would want to do for their program, but also starting something for themselves and getting something that would be great for the people around them as well. Yeah, that was the last question I have written down. We did a good job. Did a
Thank
great
you.
job, of course.